Hello students, Mr. Jen here. Welcome to Chapter 4, Lesson 1. In the last chapter, we learned a little bit about how civilizations developed. First, you have to stop running around chasing your food, plant some farms, build some buildings, form a government, maybe some social classes, sprinkle in some language and art, and boom, instant civilization. It's like sea monkeys, but better. Today, we're going to learn about the very first civilizations. The first of the civilizations, the Mesopotamians. Let's check it out on the next page. Alright, so, two rivers. Mesopotamia, the first civilization developed between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in modern-day Iraq. You can see here the rivers run parallel, flowing into the Persian Gulf. These rivers were a double-edged sword. They provided the water needed to grow food in the arid desert climate. Farmers used irrigation to get the water to their crops, but at times the rivers would overflow, flooding farms, destroying fields, and destroying homes. Eventually, the people learned to control the water with dams and canals. These floods would deposit a layer of silt on the ground, which would help crops grow. Now, once food became plentiful, people could focus on things that weren't farming. Farming villages turned into cities. The first cities in Sumer were Uruk, and Eridu. The land between these cities, however, was harsh, and as a result, the cities developed independent of one another, with not a lot of crosstalk going on. They became what are called city-states, with a sort of a central government controlling the city and the land directly around them. The population of a city-state ranged from about 5 to 20,000 folk. Each city-state is believed to have had a wall around it for protection. The wall was made of mud brick, as was the buildings. Wood and other building materials were in short supply, so mostly mud brick. At times, the city-states would fight with each other, and other times they would trade and even form alliances against common enemies. Now, the Sumerians were polytheistic, worshipping many gods. Although all the gods were honored, each city-state had a special god for which they would build a ziggurat. Right here, the ziggurat, kind of like a pyramid. At the top of the ziggurat, right here, was a shrine where only the priest was allowed to go. These priests were originally the rulers of their cities, but over time monarchies formed, and the monarchy, so like usually the king claimed that their authority came from the gods themselves. Now, when we talk about social groups, there were three main social classes in Sumer. At the top was the king, royalty, warriors, and priests. You're going to see a common theme. There's a warrior and a sort of a holy man class, and they're usually pretty up there. Down below them, in the middle class, was your farmers and artisans, your sort of Joe Schmoes, your merchants, people like that. And all the way down at the bottom rung of society were the slaves, who were typically prisoners of war. Sumer had a traditional family structure, with men in charge. They worked the farm while the ladies stayed at home and basically took care of the home and raised the kids. Boys went to school and learned a skill. Most people pretty much were farmers, and most of the time, whatever the dad did is what the sons would grow up to do. So if dad was a farmer, you would be a farmer, and so on and so forth. If dad was a merchant, you would be a merchant, and so on and so forth. Now, farming was a major part of the Sumerian economy. Sumer did not have large metal deposits, so they relied on trading to get all their metals. The agricultural goods of Sumer were the main export. Basically, any metal found in Mesopotamia had been traded for with food to obtain it from somewhere else, like Egypt. Let's talk about Sumerian contributions. After the first civilization, Sumer served as a template for pretty much all the following civilizations. Many ideas that began in Sumeria became the starting point for further works. For example, Sumerians had the first writing system, cuneiform. Cuneiform, you can see it right here, was a system of wedges with over 1,000 characters. So they used all wedges. Believes they used reed, like to poke holes in clay tablets. That's how they wrote cuneiform, and different arrangements of those wedges were different characters. Over 1,000 of them. That was a lot, and kind of hard to read. We have 26, letters in our alphabet. You throw in numbers, and all of a sudden, there's still just not that many. All right. So because there was over 1,000 characters, only the very well off knew how to read and write, and there was a special occupation just for reading and writing called scribes. Now, scribes recorded everything from legal documents to everyday happenings. They also wrote stories about their heroes. The world's oldest known story is from Sumer. Oldest story in the world. That's pretty cool. This is like a Jeopardy question. It's a poem called the Epic of Gilgamesh. Other Sumerian contributions include the wheel, the sailboat, and even a 12-month moon-based calendar, which is pretty cool. There was also basic math and astronomy. There's Gilgamesh, his best friend, died. He battles monsters, men, all kinds of stuff. Pretty cool sounding epic. Can't claim to have read it myself, but it's on my list of things to read. That's pretty much lesson 1 in a nutshell. If you go on to the very next page, there's your quiz. It's your basic Yund quiz. Some good stuff on there. 5 questions, 10 points. You have 2 attempts if you need them. For some reason you flub or your cat walks on your computer and kills your attempt, let me know. Alright, hey, that's it for today. Tomorrow we bump on to lesson 2. We learn about more civilizations and wars. Alright, take care.